Welcome loyal fams, my name is Matt Armstrong and I will be your host for parts of this video. I have been told people don't believe it is actually me doing this voiceover, but rather my drunk sounding brother. There might be some truth in that, who knows. Anyway, we have barely finished the Manufacturers' Cup and we are already back with the start of the Nations Cup. No rest for the wicked, I guess. Gran Turismo is tying in with the 24 Hours of Le Mans being held this weekend, as this first race takes place on Circuit de la Sarthe in France. Actually, can I have some help here, miss?
Circuit de la Sarthe.
Yeah, that sounds a lot better actually. Thanks, Miss Baguette.
Baguette.
Right. The cars are also Le Mans based, as we get a selection of 5 Le Mans cars from the late 80s to early 90s to pick from. Let's take a look at the selection. The Jaguar and Porsche were quickly ruled out by underperforming in both tests and the global leaderboards. The Mazda is rather quick on the straights, but severely understeers in the corners compared to other 2 remaining cars, so is ruled out as well. The Sauber Mercedes seems to be the meta car for most of the aliens topping the global leaderboards, but Dordenov found that car a bit too snappy under power out of the slower corners and prefers the way the Nissan handles. It also has the added benefit of being around 8 kilometers an hour faster on the long straights, which is a big plus. So the Nissan it is. The Nissan and some of the other cars do suffer from one issue though: oscillation of the steering wheel on the straights. It's easier to show this than trying to explain it. To do this, we will take a look at a clip of YouTuber Rory Alexander driving the Nissan R92 CP on this track about a year and a half ago.
Am I going to get the wibble wobbling down the straight? Please don't do it to me. What do I mean by this wibbly wobbly thing? About to show you.
Now keep watching the effect on the steering wheel as the speed ramps up.
I can't do this all week. Has everyone else got this? Has everyone else got this? I'm going to have to do this down the straight. Stop doing it! Drive!
A lot of users have reported this and suffer from it.
Thank you for becoming a member!
Definitely a game issue.
Guys, turn the talk down menu. I can't hit it. Oh. Right. Controller settings.
But sadly not much has changed since this clip, which is from January 2025.
Turn down road feel. Oh, crikey.
Anyway, qualifying lasts for the default 5 minutes, with lap times of well into 3 minutes. That will mean there is only enough time to complete 1 flying lap. Oh boy, we know what that means by now.
Look, if you had mom spaghetti.
The race itself runs for a total of 12 laps, which makes this a pretty long race, especially if rain gets involved, which once again is a possibility due to the random weather. Only the racing medium slicks are available, but they might get used together with intermediates or maybe even the full wets. There is 1 mandatory pit stop. Strategy-wise, this means splitting the race in half by making a pit stop after lap 6 is going to be optimal for tyre wear provided the race is fully dry. But with random weather, it's probably best to extend that first stint a bit to lap 7 or maybe even 8 if there is rain on the radar, to be able to make a change to intermediates if needed. If the race starts in the rain, it will of course all depend on when the track dries. Well then, I think that is about it. Before we move on to qualifying though, let's take a quick look at the livery for this race. This cannot be unseen. Happy days. That is a nice looking livery, if I may say so myself. Now let's see if that livery indeed makes the car 2/10 quicker like it should. Now, let's take a look at a summary of the qualifying session.
A few moments later.
In this last part of his only flying lap, Dordanov will give a short demonstration how not to finish your qualifying lap. Pay close attention so you know what not to do in the future. That was an awful end to a rather decent lap. He didn't even get a penalty for going off track because he lifted enough for the game to know he didn't gain any time there. A mistake like that and still getting a P2, we will take it.
We don't make mistakes. We have happy accidents.
Before we jump into the race, we have to take a look at the weather radar. Seems like this one is rather similar to the one on the Nürburgring last week. Starting in the rain and towards a drying track later on. All right, enters it is. Once again, but not for everyone, it seems. If you have forgotten to buy them beforehand, you are out of luck now.
Gonna have a bad time.
That new Nations Cup intro we got from the latest patch is pretty cool. But wait, what's this? How come Dordanov is on pole? This can only mean one thing. The driver that got pole has either disconnected or quit the race. Awesome. He will gladly accept this present, of course. Aside from the track already being right up to intermediate territory, there are some dark patches of rain coming in. Intermediates were definitely the correct call. A small dive into the inside from P2, but all he did was push Dordon off slightly wide, and he didn't follow up further. Survived the first corner. So far, so good. P2 was closing in a bit using the slipstream over the Mulsanne Strait, and despite Dordenov getting the corner slightly wrong, he still came out ahead. The conditions are equally tricky for other drivers to get right, of course. That was some decent side-by-side driving from both drivers. Let's see that again from a better camera perspective. That's what we like to see. Both drivers giving space while trying to outdrive the other. Good stuff. Now that we have survived the first lap, we have some time to look back at what happened in the rest of the field. Specifically, the 4 drivers that opted to start on the slicks, despite the rain on the radar. Yes, if you cut too much from some corners by going off track, the game will sometimes reset you. When it rains, it pours. Pun intended. Even though he almost drove the entire lap and was able to get into the pits, he quits now.
Rage quit.
I guess that was the last straw. Here we have one of the bratwursts in this race who chose to start on the slicks. He eventually made it around the entire track, so now he can at least pit 4 inters.
I guessed wrong.
Well, truth be told, if he wants to salvage a good result from this race, he will probably have to try and make the slicks work. But it seems way too wet to be able to do that. If we take a close look at the mini-map, we can already see how far behind the slicks runners are compared to those who started on the intermediates. This is definitely not helping.
Rage quit.
And that is quitter number 2. Alright, back to the race at hand for now. We will come back to some of the drivers who started on slicks later. It seems some of the drivers behind may have figured out that actually working together works better than trying to overtake yourself. Let's take a look. As you can see, the speed difference is about 10 to 15 kilometers an hour. That's quite significant. Nothing Dordanov can do but try and follow them after they overtake. Very convenient, by the way, that he is called Help Me, and Girk is actually actively helping him as well. That does raise a question, though. Why would he call himself Help Me?
Oh no! Step bro! Help me! I'm stuck!
The step bro does have a half-second penalty to serve, which will be done after the upcoming combination of corners. And that is back up to P2 for now. And in true Le Mans fashion, we can see the darkness is setting in. This looks absolutely awesome in VR and gives some nice shots in the transition. But once it gets really dark, it's not going to help this video. Now let's see if we can work with Gurkha to try and break away from the rest of the pack a bit. It's hard to see anything this close to another car, especially in the dark. So sometimes it's wise to move to the side a bit so you can look past them. Wow, that was totally unintended. He tried to do another bump, but the slight kink to the right that he missed made him shoot right alongside. Ah, well, he will take it and try to make the move stick, I guess. Gurkha let off the gas quite early and was either too careful or conceded the corner. Either works, back into the lead he goes. Let's take a quick look at what the duo behind is up to currently. Wow, that was a dive from pretty far back. Not sure what he is flashing his lights for. He was the one that tried a terrible move and caused the contact. The plus side from all that is the gap that is now created from Dordanov back to them. With a bit of luck, Dordanov can break away now that they can't profit from his slipstream. We can see Gurkha is taking the gamble for the slicks now.
A bastard spot, boy!
Dordanov is happy to continue on the inters for now. Pace is good, and there is plenty of life left in these tires. Pitting this early also means you have to take the mediums to the end for a total of 9 laps, which is not ideal. And on top of that, slicks are rather risky right now. The dry line is still rather narrow and also very difficult to see in the dark. All these things considered, he intends to use these inters as long as they will last, which is probably maximum 2 laps if the track keeps getting drier. He has broken away from the rest though, so we can safely skip towards his pit stop because nothing of importance will happen between now and then.
Hello,
We join back in at the end of lap 5. Dordanov plans to make his stop at the end of this lap. Some of the others behind him, including the step row, have pitted the previous lap. Hopefully they will have struggled with the dry line, as there is a slight risk of the undercut being a problem, even though Dordanov's lead over them was good. You can also see the intermediates are really worn by now. Extending even longer wouldn't even be possible if he wanted to. Yep, that's how worn they are. Really overshot that corner there. Let's open up a cam for the main rival as well to see where both drivers end up after this pit stop. Careful on the pit exit, that part is still very wet. Happy days. He came out a bit in front, hopefully enough so that the stepbro doesn't profit from any slipstream. Now it's just a case of trying to keep the car in the dry parts and not making any mistakes. While he is traversing the long straight, let's take a look at how Batazu is getting on. That is the driver who didn't have inters available to start on.
Rage quit.
Went hard onto the throttle into the barrier. Could have been having issues, but he is gone now. The only remaining driver from those who started on slicks is currently in the pits, and he has been there since after lap 1. He parked his car into the pits and was done with the race. That will at least prevent losing extra rating from quitting, but you will still come last and not learn anything from the experience of the race. Well, or at least he hopefully learned to start on the right tire next time.
This is the worst!
Very slightly went off the dry line with the left tires and didn't have enough braking power to stop the car in time for the corner. Maybe should have lifted a little earlier to be on the safe side, but he was trying to keep ahead of stepbro, of course. Luckily, only 2 places are lost by this incident. Let's skip forward a bit to see if he can catch up to them.
There's a drag.
We join back about a lap later. Dordanov is slowly but surely closing the gap to the cars in front. But we can also see 4th and 5th place lurking in the background. He can't afford any mistakes now. He must do his utmost best to keep them out of his slipstream so they can't catch up easily.
Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave.
Well, that is at least 1 place, 1 back. But P1 is still quite a bit ahead. That crash Dordanov had has lost him somewhere between 10 and 14 seconds. So that is the gap he is going to have to close up in the remaining 5.5 laps. That is going to be very tricky unless stepbro gets stuck somewhere along the track. He is definitely picking up the pace. But still, the gap he needs to close up is pretty substantial. We can't even see P1 currently. Let's do a final skip towards the end.
If we don't skip, we're stuck listening to this bozo for like half an hour.
We join back in at the start of lap 12. So far, Dordanov has displayed some pretty strong pace, but it wasn't enough to cover the gap to P1. Even though he is starting to become visible, he is still too far away to get into his slipstream. While we are on the straight, let's do a quick comparison of lap times. You can really see Dordanov's biggest problem was the 3-minute 44 out lap, where he crashed in lap 6. That is at least 7 seconds slower than Stepbro's out lap in lap 5. From that point on, times have been back and forth a bit, but the last 2 laps, Dordanov's pace has been substantially better. But still, it won't be enough to be able to overtake for first place. Don't mind the blinking fuel indicator on the bottom left. He has just about enough fuel to make it until the end. One of the added benefits of the Nissan is that it is good enough on fuel to not need refueling at the stop, unlike the Mercedes that does need some extra fuel to make it to the end in this race. And there it is. A very good finish in a pretty strong lobby. The win here would have been good for over 200 points. Definitely getting into stronger lobbies, and as long as the results are this good, those lobbies will get stronger and stronger. Too bad he couldn't hold on to first place though. It was only a slight mistake, but still cost quite some time. This proves it's very difficult to remain error-free in races like this where you have the rain and the darkness to contend with. Kudos to Help Me Stepbro in first place though, no substantial errors during the entire race. So his win is well deserved here. On to the next race. Strong start for the Nations Cup with 199 points, close to breaking that 200-point barrier for the first time. Currently 4th in the Netherlands as well, not too shabby. Thank you for watching, and we will see you in the next one.
Oh, Stepbro, I'm stuck.